The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Board and Dice.
World Shapers from Board and Dice is a card drafting and tableau building game that's got great looking art. So this is a game that Dad has recently been having his lunch group play. So I'm going to kind of tell you how the game is played, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what I think as well as my lunch group. So check it out. The first thing we do with setup is we mix up these 4 elemental tiles. Now we have earth, wind, and fire, because we're going to groove tonight, right? And then we also have water. So every game, those are going to be mixed up. So you're going to have a little different order of your tableau. Each player is going to get 2 of the crystals. And then in a 2-player game, it tells us that we're going to remove 12 cards, and those cards are distinguished by 2 little dots, and I'll talk about that later. Then in a 2-player game, each player is going to get 6 cards. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take the top 3 cards and we're going to create a pool. Now in a 2-player game, each player is going to get 6 cards. In a 3-player game, each player gets 5, and in a 4-player game, each player gets 6. So since I have this set up for 2-player, I'll deal out 6 cards for each person. Now not only is the number of cards different based on player count, so is the number of rounds that we're going to play. So in a 2-player game, we're going to play 3 rounds. In a 3-player game, we're going to play 3 rounds. And in a 4-player game, we're only going to play 2 rounds. On our turn, we are going to look at the cards that we have in our hand, and then we are going to decide which one to keep. So based on what we're going to try to go for, let's just say I'm going to keep this one, and then I would pass these cards over to my opponent. Now, there is a card that is going to allow us to possibly bring these back, so you don't want to have anybody take these cards until everything has been resolved. So I'll just place those cards there for that player, and then they're just going to pick one, and then they'll pass those over to me. There's no cost for putting the card into my tableau. All I have to do is place it in the right column according to that elemental, and he will do the same. Now, the other thing that we can do is called enhance. Now, you'll notice that this card has a place for one of our power crystals. This card does not. So let me just show you this card real quick. You can see that it says it has an ability down here. It has the earth symbol, and this is a symbol that means it has an instant effect. So an instant effect, we would just read whatever text we have there, and then we would resolve. But that card will go in that player's tableau right there. Now, in order to enhance that card, I put a crystal there, and then we're going to get this bonus that's over here. You'll see it says enhancement of 10. Well, what is that enhancement? It says having the most air symbols provides 6 points, basically. So if we enhance it, each one of those is, or having the most, will provide 10 points. So let's just say we want to go ahead and put our crystal there. Now you can only enhance 1 card per turn. Now the other thing we can do on our turn, if for whatever reason, if we do not have a card here that we want to play, we can do a couple of different things. We can, let's just say that I did not want to play this card. I could actually pay a power crystal back to the bank, and then I could exchange this for one of the cards over here in the pool, and then I would place that in my tableau. But let's just say that I did not want to do that, and I was running low on power crystals. I can just discard this, and I can take 1 power crystal instead. At the end of our first round, our tableaus may look something like this, where we have 6 cards. Now, when you play cards into your tableau, you want to make sure that you play them in the correct row and column. So whenever you place one, so in this instance with the water, if I had another water, it's going to go right underneath, and it will be in that 2nd row. To start the next round, we would again deal 6 of the cards to each player and do the exact same thing. Then at the end of the game, we will tally up what our points are. Now, scoring is handled a number of ways. You'll notice that some cards actually have a number down at the bottom. Those offer victory points. And then we also have cards like this one that has the enhanced ability that will give us extra points if we have met certain conditions. Other cards are going to give you points based on either being adjacent or in the vicinity of other cards. Now, for instance, this water card is considered to be adjacent to this earth card because they are on the ends, and if you think about it, they just kind of wrap around. Now, there are some special cards, like you'll see this one here with the mushroom cloud. And you'll notice that it has all these symbols on there. This means this is kind of a wild card. This also has an instant effect, but because it's a wild card, I can actually play that in any of the columns that I want. And when I do that, it's going to gain just whatever column it is in. So I had this in the earth column, or excuse me, the wind column. So this now has one wind icon. And then you'll also notice it's got the instant effect text at the bottom. As you can see here, there are a number of those wild cards that come with the game. Now that I've given you an overview on how the game is played, let's get to what Dad and his lunch group think of it. As I mentioned before, we've played this game several times over the course of a few weeks. And while I think the enjoyment factor was there was a lot of frustration. The adjacency versus vicinity caused some confusion, as well as some of the production choices that they made. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about the negatives, but I do want to point out several things. So like I had said, in a two-player game, you are going to remove a certain number of cards. And I don't know if you can even see that. These dots that are supposed to represent the cards that you take out are almost, you can't even see them very well. So that's kind of a negative. The text, I mean, they've got all this space and itty bitty little text. The text was very hard to read. Some of the card abilities were confusing, and there was not enough basically FAQ in the rule book that would kind of explain that. So there was a lot of kind of frustration with how does this exactly work. There's also other abilities that you have to pretty much kind of scrutinize other players' tableaus to kind of figure out how to handle scoring on your part. So that was also considered a negative. Now, as far as the positive goes, the games go fairly quickly. We were playing 2 games during our lunch period, so the games go pretty fast. So the rules are pretty simple. I mean, on your turn, you're going to take one card and you're going to pass it clockwise. Now, what our group would do is on the next round, we would pass it counterclockwise. The artwork on a lot of the cards is just simply gorgeous. And I do want to show off some of my favorites here. As you can see, there's a nice looking rainbow there. The fire ones and the water ones seem like they are really kind of cool the most. Like that, like a water spout there. Then you got a volcano, and this one's probably my favorite, kind of the underwater volcano there. And then you got the lightning. So the artwork is really cool. The components themselves, the cards are nice. They have a nice finish to them. The art on the back of the cards is pretty cool too. The crystals are really neat. They're these nice blue crystals, which you don't normally get. It seems like you always get clear or you get red or green. So it was a nice choice to have blue there. But you get quite a few of those. Like I said, the game mechanics are really good. And once you kind of get that learning bit, you've got the first few games under your belt, I think the scoring kind of is a lot easier to follow. You're going to start knowing what the cards do, so that helps a lot. Overall, I would have to say that for our group, this was kind of lukewarm. While they did kind of enjoy playing it, it wasn't one that they were going to ask for a lot of. They liked the concept, but if they were going to play a card drafting game, they would probably choose Seven Wonders. I do also want to point out that they did provide another set of the elemental column markers, so you're going to use these in a 3 or 4 player game. And the insert is actually fairly good. None of the cards seem like they go all over the place when this is being transported. While the game can be fun after you get over the initial learning curve of how everything works, because it's got a little bit of wonkiness there, it's just okay. And doesn't mean it's a bad game, it just means it's okay. So that is World Shapers from Board and Dice, and we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.